the Masters of Modern. I am your host, Alex Kessler, here with my co-host, Ben Bateman. I'm back. I'm a dad now. This is now the Dad Stirs of Modern podcast. That's not a word. And we have a special guest, Aaron Torbin from Dreamhack. Welcome, everybody.
Hello. What's going on? Not too much. It's been a long day. A lot of communication with a lot of different people, and trying to get everyone locked in for the fun events that we have coming up.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this event. We're back to in-person events again, and there's been a big time doubling down on making these events incredible, and I think we're just excited to be able to talk to you about that tonight. So that's going to be on the agenda for the show tonight, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so basically, and we talked a little bit of it with Power Dragon, I think 3 weeks ago now, on the fact that Pro Tour Magic is back. Paper Magic and tournament play Magic is back. Large events are back. Public-facing large events are back. What that all means. And Aaron, Dreamhack, and you are kind of one of the, if not the major force, kind of behind creating this and organizing it. So we wanted to get you on to help explain what's going on, how it happened, what the future looks like temporarily, and what the future could look like in the future. and everything along those lines. So welcome. If you want to briefly introduce yourself and explain your background really quick, and we can get into it.
Yeah, hi, I'm Aaron Linde, or Torbin online. You can find me at Torbin _ on Twitter, or Torbin on Twitch. I've been in gaming for 18 years. I've been doing events for that long as well. Been working for Dreamhack for about 7 of those years, doing influencer management, doing community engagement, tabletop, and a bunch of other slew of things at the festivals in North America. So I've been helping build out a lot of different strategies here for content. From that, I've taken over a lot of the tabletop things and charity initiatives that we have, where we're really developing and building things here in North America, really push the boundaries. So if you're not familiar with Dreamhack, a 25-year gaming event that started over in Sweden as a LAN, small LAN in a little basement, grew from that into one of the largest LANs around the world. We actually hold the world record for most LANs on PC at one time, which is 12,500. From that, we came over to the US in 2016 and started developing the gaming lifestyle convention you see today in our 3 different locations, Anaheim, Dallas, and Atlanta, every year. And so now that we're back from the pandemic, we're kicking it into gear with a whole bunch of new stuff. You probably know us a lot from our esports background, working with Rocket League, Fortnite, Halo, everything in CSGO. A lot of people know us from all those genres. And so we bring all that expertise to the table when we're going to be hitting Magic. And so this is why we're super excited to be part of this.
It's a crazy time because Magic's professional and event-driven scene has evolved a lot over the last 10 years. And in that evolution, as we were starting to, I think, kind of figure out what like big public-facing Magic events were going to look like, the pandemic happened. And they all died. And the whole landscape that I think most players who are going to these things and us like podcasters where we get to go and appear and meet people, which is so fun for us, that all just went away. And so the idea, was Paper Magic going to come back? And when it did, what was it going to look like? And it's exciting for us to know that, there's a company that is so invested in building these giant events that it can bring a different perspective to Magic's pro scene. Because Magic's pro scene historically has been very driven by Paper, Magic, and Wizards. Or a Magic adjacent brand like Channel Fireball or somebody like that who's doing it from that perspective of Magic. Whereas I think you guys just have a much wider breadth of experience with all kinds of games.
Yeah, and before we kind of continue, we now get to do all of the shout outs. That's a preview of what we're talking about. And there's 2 pieces of it. First off, shout out to sponsors, both Ultra Pro. Thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast and our Monday Commander and Modern streams that we do every week. We also have a new home. We are now officially affiliates with Channel Fireball. We've moved from Collected.company to Channel Fireball. So we'll be posting all of our video and the podcasts on their website. And if you use the affiliate code, the MMcast, or the affiliate link below, you help us, and you get a discount of some variety, but you help us get support, and it is appreciated. So thank you so much to them for all of that. And then, we want to earn or / want to make a bet with all of our listeners to get your likes and subscriptions. So instead of just like asking you straight up, please like and subscribe, we play a little game of trivia. And
Nice.
Aaron, you get to participate today in some Magic trivia. Basically, how this is going to work is I'm going to ask you and Ben a trivia question. You're both going to like him and haw for a second. Don't just like, if you know the answer, don't snap answer it. Let the listeners take their time to try and comment the answer in the comments below. And if they get it right, they will give them a like. And if they get it wrong, they have to like and subscribe to the podcast. If they get it right and they want to also like and subscribe, we appreciate it, but they don't have to anymore. They're just only required if they get it wrong. So the question is, and this is a classic. This is a classic question. In alpha and beta, there were 10 dual lands printed. Let's say that. In alpha, only 9 were printed. So they missed one of the dual lands in alpha that was then printed in beta. Which dual land was missed in the original alpha printing of Magic and only was originally printed in beta?
Wow, do I know this?
And I'm gonna definitely let Aaron try and answer first, Ben, before you take. And I will, Aaron, for your sake, I will allow a color combo if you don't know all of the different dual lands names by heart.
I don't, so there's that. I'm struggling here, but what my gut feeling is blue white.
Okay. Ben, do you have your guess?
So here's my logic game. My logic game would be that any blue duel that was left out of alpha would be much more famous for being left out because blue is the best color in Magic and everybody knows that. So it's got to be a non-blue. And I'm thinking it's going to be a bad one because otherwise it would get lots of hype. So I'm going to go, bad and just less played. I'm going to go with Plateau. Plateau's my guess.
Okay, which is the red white one for Aaron's purposes and the listeners. You were both incorrect. It was and your logic behind it was also incorrect, Ben. It was Volcanic Island was not printed in the original set. Interesting. Wow. There is a fun fact about Plateau though. The original art used with the Plateau was changed between the first 2 printings and revised because the original art file for Plateau was corrupted because it was just like on a 90s computer that just didn't survive. And so it's just gone to time. There's no high profile image of Plateau. So Volcanic Island was the answer to the trivia question. We got some bonus
There's
trivia.
No alpha. There's no such thing as an alpha Volk, huh?
There's no such thing as an alpha Volcanic Island.
Wow.
So yeah, there's your trivia. So if you got it right, in the comments below, thank you so much for commenting. And if you want to like and subscribe, we appreciate it. And if this is your first time here and you got it wrong, like Ben and Aaron, you're just obligated now to like and subscribe. They both have to like and subscribe too. It's the way this game works. Ben unsubscribes and subscribes every week. It's great.
Does it and then does it again.
Yeah. As long as you come back, it's okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, and let's get on the conversation. So it's really exciting. I mean, as you guys mentioned, right before the pandemic, Magic took its first leaps into $1 million prize pools. And with the launch of Arena, kind of reinventing what a pro player could be, they listened to a lot of the like pay the pros, controversy, backlash, whatever you want to call it, a movement and tried creating kind of like more of a $70,000 a year sustainable salary benefit package around being a pro player that I think in general, the consideration of how that function was not successful. And there's a reason, a slew of reasons for that. One is what they were really paying for is they wanted 72 great streamers to stream their game that had a large followings, and they were trying to base it on that. And being a pro Magic player does not make you a good entertainer. Those are generally not, like, honestly, I would say that they are normally actually opposite skill sets, or often can be opposite skill sets. So that was a challenge. And then on top of it, it created this grind culture on how to get into that space, how to get out of that space, that because of its basis on Arena became pretty unhealthy. And so then COVID happened on top of that, and the world of paper Magic kind of evolved / blew up / changed, but now we're getting into the future, and they've kind of reinvented and went back to some of the basics, right? There's the PTQ system, there's Pro Tour events, there's a World Championship event. They're happening at big convention hall locations, and I'm excited to get more kind of grander detail on what that looks like.
I'm going to actually jump here and ask Aaron a question, maybe before going, he kind of responds to what you just said, or maybe you teed up this question. But in your experience, 18 years of gaming and watching gamers and sort of professional tournaments, conventions go, what do you think is the qualifier for a game to have a strong professional scene, like a scene where people are actually making a living doing it? Like, what do you think makes it a game? What is necessary in a game for that?
Three things. One, a quality funnel of content that is constantly being produced for the community to consume. A strong, solid community, and a game that is willing to listen and continually innovate.
Okay, I would say Magic has all of those things. Content, probably the first one that you mentioned, that's probably the question mark. Is like, content in terms of card releases, definitely, but like in terms of additional content that goes out, I think they're constantly looking for ways to innovate and develop that. But I wonder when you say content, like give me an example from another game.
Let's take League of Legends, for instance, right? So if we looked at how it developed over time, we can see that they started off with just a game where they were just trying things out. It then developed from there into a tournament series, and then from that into a very streamable game, and from that to other hybrid games, and then a world tour. And so it kept on developing and pushing those boundaries, and then all the while developing community members and individuals to be their influencers to help continue to push that agenda forward. So if you look at their historical value of how they actually developed their game totally, it actually hits all those points where they're constantly developing, they're pushing new things out. And Dota could be saying the same thing, right? You could say the same thing of Valve and Dota, to where they took the community, they grasped onto it, they developed it, and then continued pushing it.
Okay, interesting. And so, and you guys now are working with Magic. So I guess the other question that we had to ask was, how did DreamHack get involved with Magic? I mean, when did that start, or at what point did you come in that relationship?
So I've been working with Wizards for about 2 years, but this was actually pre-pandemic. I was working with Wizards too, and we had done a multitude of things. It was nothing really related to Magic. We've always been in the sphere, but not really something that's been primary. So they knew about us, and we also we started running some of their esports around Digital Magic Online. So we actually ran one of their first tournaments in Anaheim before the pandemic hit. And so we actually had a pretty big showing. I think we had around 2,000 players show up to play in that, to where it was all digital. And that was one of the first forays, I think, that they had into it. And from that point, they saw us in a different light. I believe they saw us in a different light because they realized what our scale is and what we could do. So when it came time for us to have a conversation, we were just right place, right time. Realistically, we had been forefront of their mind, talking to them constantly, already continuing working with them. We did events with them on the side here and there. So it was about opportunity and the fact that we're already a known quantity. And I think they really wanted to try and see what we could provide and what we could do as a festival, and not just a Magic event.
So more support than just a tournament and some signings, like a whole, just kind of an entire infrastructure surrounding that Magic can be a part of.
So one of our goals when we were talking to them is making Magic into a mini festival within our big festival. That was one of the things that we talked to them about heavily.
And we've been talking about that for years. I mean, Alex and I have been saying that, it's when you go to these Magic events that you really want it to feel like more than just tables, games, a couple signings. You want it to feel like more of an event, more a convention, right?
Yeah,
that's the way we described it.
Like Magic already was evolving into that, or like the GP circuit was evolving into it. It had a few of its laws. One, because it was such like every single weekend there was a new GP somewhere, that added a layer of a little less specialness to it, so people weren't prioritizing going to those events theoretically. Like you'd have some that like LA during Dead Standard, right, where it was like a 400 person tournament, but LA during like the week after a new set came out playing Modern in April was a 2,000 person tournament. So like just depending on what you were trying to do there, it would range in its size. But like towards the end, like Seattle, with pre-pandemic, followed by Vegas, there was they had panels, they had cosplayers, they had artists, they had actual kind of convention style experiences with a command zone, plus a regular kind of play area, plus tournament play, plus a GP and a PTQ qualifier, etc. That created a convention experience, which is like kind of what these things could have or should have always been.
Agreed.
Or we're growing into, at least. Yeah.
Yep.
Should have
That's
always
exactly
been hard to say.
So with this iteration of the Pro Tour that we're getting, there's two sites that have been announced. Obviously, the first one is Dallas, and after that is Atlanta. With the way the structure of that is going, so the tournament structure, events, prize structure, all that stuff. I mean, I know historically Wizards has done all of that stuff internally, and then somebody like a channel they're the organizer that actually hosts the event. So now with this relationship, are you guys the organizer that's hosting the event, or are you in the planning stage with them as far as all those details go? Are you working in sync with them?
So it's a little bit of both, right? There is some factors there that they fully control, right? Because this is their program at the end of the day. But we also own a lot of the on-site as far as what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, the content we're going to produce, who we work with, how we work with it. Like everything that has to do with on-site is us. So we talk with them on a regular basis on planning and what we're going to do. And so they give us feedback and we take that and we go back and forth. So it's a partnership in every sense of the word, to where they take our advice and we take their advice and we go back and forth based off of what it is. So we have feedback that we give them. Hey, we're having these struggles or these things are going on. And then they give us feedback. Hey, we're having these things going on. Let's figure this out. So we have that give and take. So I don't know if that's how it's been in the past. I can't say because I haven't been part of other organizers. But I know that from my experience, this is how a traditional partnership works, to where it is a true partnership and they are going to be helping to support us in as much as they possibly can to make the event successful.
Very cool. So let's talk about Dallas. That's this first one, and for what can we expect? What anything exciting that you want to kick us off with that people should be expecting?
And even just like how is it laid out? What's the main event look like? What are the side? What is a DreamHack Magic event going to be?
Yeah. So real quickly before we jump into that, one thing I do want to point out is Dallas is not the first regional qualifier. Atlanta is.
Okay.
The first that's where I want to make sure that everyone understands. Like the first regional qualifier is Atlanta. Dallas is our testing ground where we're going to be doing a lot of our foundation building and working with the community and understanding how to run the thing properly, so that when we hit to Atlanta, we have no problems. Right? We're just a well-oiled machine at that point. So with Dallas, what we're doing is we actually have a 10K tournament that's going to be modern. We're also going to have a command zone. We are going to have Baldur's Gate, and along with a lot of other stuff from the command area. So we're going to be doing a lot of command side events. We're going to be doing a lot of just Magic in general, just getting our feet underneath us, essentially. We're going to have an artist alley. We're going to have a cosplay competition. We're going to have some other side events that I'm working on. We do have a couple panels lined up as well. And then we are working on a couple other aspects, which I don't want to say right now, but it's basically we're trying to develop our floor plan so that we have something to build into for Atlanta, and that's what Dallas is. So if you guys want to see what we're going to do, our testing ground is Dallas, and then from there we're going to build. We're going to take whatever feedback we get and say, okay, this worked, this didn't work, let's improve and do it better at Atlanta.
That makes a lot of sense, because the one thing I was confused by is there's already June's a month and a half away. And by the time this podcast comes out, it's a month away. So that was definitely at the beginning, I was like, wait, how do you qualify for that event if the program hasn't started yet? And okay, this makes a lot of sense.
Round one starts in July. So round one starts in July. That will lead directly into Atlanta. And that's where you can go to your local WPN store and play in there and get directly into the qualifier. And the way that works, which is what we really are excited about, is a store is going to go buy a $50 kit. They're going to get a bunch of promos from that kit. They're going to run whatever format they want to within a certain frame, right? And once you win your ticket to DreamHack and you're qualified. That's as you can go from your local store to DreamHack immediately. And so that's what's super exciting for us. And then from Atlanta, you could potentially go to Worlds. right? So the top 2 people are going to Worlds, and then the top 48 are going to the Pro Tour. So this is a direct line. We literally have made this so incredibly simple for everyone involved. There's no reason not to do this.
So for the regional event, can you participate if you haven't won a qualifier, or you have to have won a qualifier to be able to participate?
You have to run a qualifier, or you have to come play in the last chance qualifier on Friday.
The Friday,
which are our favorite. So we love the LCQs.
yeah, in reality, this is kind of just recreating the RPTQ to PTQ system that kind of existed in between. It was the manageable system when PTQs became too massive to able to run single day events, because you would get GP sized 1 day qualifier events that just I think there was a PTQ I went to that had 1,000 people in it, and I went to a GP a weekend later and it had 500 people in it. So they were bigger than GPs. But now it's so any regional store can have them at any time of the year, depending on the ones that they buy. Those will lead right into these events. And the plan is for there to be how many regional qualifiers a year?
In general? So there's 3 DreamHack regional qualifiers, because we have 3 festivals.
Okay,
so we're going to have 3, but it's our culmination event. And that's the one thing I want everyone to focus on, is it's a culmination of what we've been doing. So we want this to be a party, and we want it to be a celebration of the community. And that is our biggest focus, is the community. We looked at this from the top down, and then started from the bottom and built this entire system focusing directly on the community.
You're saying Atlanta is a culmination?
Yes.
Yeah. And that makes one of the, I would say, flaws with the regional thing is that it was a invite only, and you didn't get to bring your friends unless you all grinded together and all happened to win an RPTQ or an RPTQ, right? There's an RPTQ into a PTQ. And so in this situation, if I win my regional, I get to go. Ben doesn't win his regional, but he can go play in the command zone. He can do Baldur Gates draft. He can do regular draft. He can do, he can have the regular Grand Prix experience. And then while I go have to grind my tournament that I got myself into.
Yeah. So starting in July, then people should be grinding all summer, because it's November, right? Atlanta's November 18th.
Yep. So if your WPN store is not already running one, or has already said that they've bought a kit, make sure that they go to mtgmelee.com and check that out, because it's literally as simple as they drop in, we verify they're a store, they buy their kit, they schedule. And it's such a low dollar amount that there's no reason they should say no.
When you say we get a ticket to DreamHack, by the way, you ticket to the event, not like a plane ticket to.
Yeah. So it's just an actual you're qualified. You get a ticket to come to the show. We're not going to pay for travel, because that would be astronomically crazy.
Yep.
Now, but stores can run that as a prize, right? You can add additional prizes to those tournaments, or you have to stick within the framework. Okay. No, a local store could be $20 entry fee. You get this as the winner gets this and a $250 travel voucher on Spirit or what.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the store wants to do. The reason why we did it this way is we want players to return to the store. That is our goal right there. We want players to return to the store. We want them to support their local stores. We want to support the local stores in every way possible and help them re-energize from what happened in the pandemic. So this is our gift to the WPN network as a whole, saying, hey, we get stuff was wrong. So this last 2 years, let's fix it for you. Here you go. This is a way for us to get people back into your stores because of the way that we've built the system.
Very cool. Reminds me of the old exciting days of getting to play at my local store and anything could happen. I used to love playing in PTQs and stuff like that. That was my favorite time, and probably my favorite Magic memories are all from 2007 to 2014 or something like that, which is ironic because we started doing a podcast in 2014. So it's a whole other set of memories. But I used to love grinding PTQs. I love that stuff.
I was just going to say, yeah, and that feeling right there is exactly what we're going after, because we want people to feel the same thing that you did when you first started playing Magic, right? To be around friends and be competing with your friends and trying to beat them so you win the spot and they don't. And then they have to go fight someone else for it. And then you get to hold it over their head. Because let's face it, if you can hold that over your head, you're going to do that to your friends, obviously.
Ben would never. He would never hold anything over my head. He would never.
My favorite thing ever was I always played stupid decks in tournaments. Like I love to build like garbage and be like, it's going to win. And then I would go and I wouldn't do anything. And then Alex finally this one time on the show was like, if I win this bet, you have to play a real deck at the next event. And I was like, never.
I get to choose the deck you play.
And then I like lost. Then I had to play a real deck and I had like my best finish ever, of course.
It's like Ben is a good Magic player. I mean, we're both good Magic players, but he would like work on like, no, you don't understand. Scrabbling clause that lets me sacrifice any permanent for free is the secret deck that's going to break the format.
Clause of Gix is the card that you're trying to remember there.
Yeah. He goes like 0-5 and scoops and comes back to me depressed, being like, I hate everything. And I'm like, it's because you played a bad deck. And then I'm just like, okay, here, play Arclight Phoenix. I own it already. Here's the deck. This is a stock list. I stole it from the last winning Grand Prix, and he day twos and like does great in the tournament and like almost top eights. I'm like, just play something real. But yeah, and that is the argument we always made on a podcast too, is that like the greatness that is these open events that are like fun that you can get to go to is you can just spike them. You can show up with just the right tech, the right deck, or even something you've created that's so off the wall that could make it, and
you can
win
run
the
hot
whole
that
thing.
Day. All you got to do is run hot that day.
Yeah, run to the championship, run to the Pro Tour. So,
and I mean, how crazy is that to think about? Someone who's never been in the Pro Tour before ever could go from their local WPN store into a regional qualifier and potentially go to Worlds. Like it's 3 steps. You're talking 3 steps to get to Worlds potentially for 2 players, and it doesn't even have to be
that's 2 steps, insane. Right? Yeah, you just need to win. You need 2 events because to win Worlds is 3 steps, but
so it's 2 steps. Yeah, you're right. So, but I don't know if there's ever been a system like that. Now, this is only for year 1, obviously, for like the Worlds portion of it. But the fact is that it's been simplified. And one of the things I'd like to point out is if you guys are on the website, which is dreamhack.com/magic. We have a graphic there, and it goes from WPN Network to our showdown to the Pro Tour to the World Championship. And this is the best representation of how this system works because it's that clean. It's literally that clean. Like there's no in between. There's no other hidden things. This is how this works.
So you guys are running these Dreamhack events, which are a huge part in the qualification. Now, Worlds, you guys are not running. That is a separate event that they are running. What about coverage for these events? Is there any coverage that is being handled by Dreamhack for any of this stuff?
As far as the Pro Tour?
Or as far as the Dreamhack event in Atlanta or the Pro Tour or So the Pro Tour and the World Tour are Wizards directly. We don't touch that. That's not ours. We own the WPN stores and we own the Showdown, which is what we're calling our regional championship. And when it comes to that, yes, there will be coverage. We're figuring out what that's going to look like. We're figuring out how that's going to be. One of my main focuses is working with content creators, and I mean that every sense of the word. Like if you're a content creator that is a blogger, I want you. If you do news articles, I want you. If you do podcasts, I want you. Right? It doesn't matter how you create that content. If you are in the Magic arena and you're creating content of some kind, I want you at the event because I want your coverage to be part of what we're doing in our ecosystem. As an influencer manager, I'm very cognizant of having influencers around helping to support what we're doing and building is very important because you can help us get the message of what we're trying to do out.
I mean, you're here talking to us, and I think we fully get that. Like, we're very happy to be involved in the process, and I know I for one will be in Dallas. Alex is he's a Papa of Pioneer now, so he can't.
It is within the window. I am not allowed to travel for outside of explicitly obligated work. In emergencies.
This could be work, though. You could say it's work.
Yeah, I do not get away with using magic. I think like the one trip I'm allowed to do is I'm going to Licensing Expo because we have a licensor that wants to talk to me, which is I can't go into more deeply than that. But
that's not fair.
But Ben will be there, so that's the MMcast will be present.
We will be represented.
Then I'll see you.
And that's like one of the really exciting things, right? Like there was always kind of that's something that's changed too, right? For 20 years, Magic's celebrity or Magic influence was almost entirely built within either the designers of the game or pro players, right? Like there was not Like the professor didn't exist at the level that he did. The game nights world and the command zone didn't exist at the way they did up until pretty recently, like within the last 6 years, and or at least at that level. And so when the systems were built before, a lot of the like appearance fees or people that were being tried to get to go there were pro players, right? That's what the pro players club was about. That's what the Hall of Fame was about, and that still exists to some extent, which we can get into, I guess, maybe. But now, since then, you have the fact that Commander is the largest format maybe in Magic in the world, and there's a lot of content creators that aren't pro players. Most content creators in that space aren't pro players. You have podcasters, you have YouTubers, you have TikTokers. Christine Sprinkle created the Magic cosplay feature game. Not that there weren't cosplayers before that, but that like were being featured by Wizards and the tournament organizers, and that's now grown into Tappy and Olivia and Bubbles and there's so many different contributors from so many different angles in this community that didn't exist before, or at least were not in the same ecosystem that they are now, that it's exciting that they're being incorporated at this event.
So fun side fact, Air Bubbles is my team lead for tabletop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm also working with all the She Sparks. They'll be there as well. Okay. So Talia, Zebex, and Zabricus, yep. They're all going to be there, and we're working with them. The past 6 months, all I've been doing is talking to creators, just putting everyone under the sun under NDA and saying, "Hey, this is what we're doing. But this is why I'm doing this," and they're just like, "This is dope."
That's really cool. I mean, I think one of the things that's really interesting about it is, Alex, to build on what you were just saying a second ago, the world of Magic and I don't know if this is something that you guys noticed happening during the pandemic, because you mentioned you were working with Wizards a couple of years ago. 2.5 years ago, before the era that Alex is talking about, back when like pro players kind of were the bigger names and we were just starting to get some cosplayers, there wasn't as much community support for Magic. It hadn't spread in the same way. Whereas now, with apps like TikTok and with the sheer number of content creators that are out there, with just all the stuff that the Command Zone guys have done, whether it's watching Post Malone play Magic, there's just so many things that have happened now that I feel like have changed the profile of Magic, that I think getting a bunch of higher profile people in the community together feels very different than it would have felt 2 years ago. I think it's an entirely different community of people than existed 2 years ago, really.
Yep, I completely agree with that. And I mean, this is again why this is supposed to be a culmination event, right? We want all the creators, we want all the community. This is why we don't just have one area dedicated to one thing, right? We have several areas dedicated to several things. Another big initiative I have is inclusivity, right? Making sure that we make this acceptable to everyone involved, and then building it into where anyone who wants to play Magic can play Magic, even to the point of we built a whole new way to intro people into Magic in a fun, safe environment that takes them directly in competitive. So there's a lot of the thought process went into, one, how do we help the existing player base? 2, how do we help the pro scene? 3, how do we help the new players we want coming in? And 4, how do we help the content creators that are currently existing continue to create top content that they need to continue producing and making money?
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm way excited for Dallas, I got to tell you. And I'm going to just have to book my ticket for Atlanta now.
I mean, on American Airlines, looking up what can I use miles for.
This is where it's if you're working with me ahead of time, we can work through things, right? I am happy to work with any content creator that wants to work with us and wants to be there. Our goal is to make you excited and make you want to join in the fun craziness that we're going to have in general, and then have you relay that to everyone you're working with too, because that just helps funnel exactly what we're doing and the hype that we're trying to build.
So I guess my next question is, if you're not a content creator, if you're a person on the street, want to go to DreamHack, want to participate in this event, and especially with this one where there is, you didn't win a regional, whatever, you're just going to play in Dallas. What does that look like? How do I go to DreamHack?
Yeah, so it's just, you're going to go purchase a ticket, right? So you can purchase a 1-day or 3-day ticket, right? If you purchase a 3-day ticket, we actually give you two $25 vouchers to spend on any side events that you want to. This is our way of kind of easing people into this, because we understand that ticket prices of $100 is a little bit of a sting, right? We get that, but we're also a festival and we offer a lot more. So we also have to make money. Like there's no way around that. I have to make money, and we have to actually have revenue generating. Otherwise, these events wouldn't happen in the first place. So you literally go into either our website, which is dreamhack.com, and you find the event you want to go to, you purchase a ticket there, and then you're in. That's as simple as that, right? And then you have access to the full venue and everything that's going on. And then any side events or anything that we're going to do, we'll have prices for them based off of what's being played, because product costs money, believe it or not. And it doesn't just...
After the first buy-in, you're now at a Magic Grand Prix.
Yeah,
at least for the Magic section, where you get to you if you want to draft, it costs X amount of dollars. If you want to do a grab bag, includes one pack of alpha, whatever, that's going to cost X amount of dollars. If you want to do whatever the most recent standard set is, I think at that point it's still New Capenna, that's going to cost you $20.
Yeah, and there's also going to be two 10K tournaments that we're going to have as well. So if you want to come in and play, you still want to be in that competitive scene, we have an option for you, even if you didn't qualify. So even if you didn't qualify, you say you missed out on the LCQ, that's fine. We still got two 10Ks. You still can make some money.
When you say 10K, you're purely talking about the top prize is $10,000?
No, they're two $10,000 tournaments. So there's a price tier for that. So I think it's the top 24 players that we have for that. I'll look it up real quick. But basically, our reasoning there is we have $130,000 on the line for the regional championship, and then we wanted additional money for everyone else who may have missed out or even got kicked out of there. Like, hey, say you're playing in it, but you can just go play one in the 10K, right? Like, it doesn't stop you from being able to still do the thing and still enjoy Magic, because there's still ways for you to recoup some of that money.
Right, and that's the Atlanta one, right? Because in Dallas, there's no regional.
We just have the one 10K tournament in Dallas.
Yeah, okay.
I'm definitely going to be sitting down and sleeving up a deck and playing some Magic competitively in Dallas, and I cannot wait. I will be trying to create content also, but I will definitely be playing some Magic. I'm looking forward to sitting at tables for 8 hours and calling Alex dehydrated about losing playing 2 matches.
Right, are you going to play a real deck, or are you going to make something up?
We'll see. I'm busier than I was when I was younger. I don't quite have the time to spend on my fire. What I can't even think of the name of the cards.
I think most of Superior Burning Cocoa is legal in the format.
In Pioneer,
I think so.
You can't play Mir Superior.
But there's newer Mir Superior lights, aren't there? Other claim to fame targets.
So you can't play. That's blasphemy. I can't play the
claim to fame Croxa variants.
I can't play Mir Superior, and the deck is dead. I'll come up with something new.
Listen. I'll just get a Magic expert to walk over. We'll look at his deck, and then we'll just make fun of him. So that don't worry, we got you.
Perfect. Please send me that for TikTok purposes.
Don't worry. I'll everything that we're going to be doing is just going to be recorded in one way or another.
Awesome.
The one thing I will tell you, and this is what you're going to miss out on, Ben, unfortunately, is Magic Cornhole.
Magic Cornhole.
I'm not going to explain it. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
How
Gambit-esque with my card throwing skills do I need to be to participate? That's the only question I have. Yes. Okay. All right. Perfect. I'm good. I'm golden.
See, Alex here is going to be able to experience this, but Ben is just going to miss out on all of that fun stuff.
Well, Ben's going. I'm the one that's missing out.
Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm cross rivers here.
Yeah, Alex, you're going to miss out on Magic Cornhole. Yes, exactly.
I'll be back here honing my skills for Atlanta, and make a big comeback. I'll know all the tech. You're going to embarrass yourself on the inaugural run. No one knows what's going on. I'll be watching all the videos. Don't worry.
Alex will have Asher with him in Atlanta. That's what's going to happen. Little baby.
You're probably not wrong.
I mean, if you want to somehow bring him, we'll dress him up in a wizard's costume or something. Let's go.
Luckily my wife lived in Atlanta for a few years, and so we have actually some friends there with kids. So there's that's an easier sell than Dallas. I don't know anyone in Dallas.
That's fair.
So the event's happening. This is how people can kind of participate. Are the other what? It's a DreamHack event, right? So you have all the other stuff you normally do at those events going on as well. So with that pass, you also get access to any other tournament kind of play for esports that's going on there, correct?
As long as it's open, yes. So there's BWC tournaments, right, that you can enter if you're in the BWC. There's going to be other tournaments that I can't talk about because we haven't announced them yet. We have actually, I don't know if we announced that one either. We have a CSGO. So we have IEM CSGO.
Let's do it.
Right. We have a bunch of different stuff happening and just a bunch of different content happening, including our content creator hub where we're going to have mechanical bull riding. I haven't announced the prize pool on it, but
mechanical bull riding.
Yeah, we're gonna stream it and then we're just shoutcast the whole thing. It's gonna be hilarious. But yeah, it's gonna be a sizable prize pool, and the only way to actually enter that is to be a content creator that I invite. So if you ever wanted to ride one,
your bull riding skills locked in.
I was gonna say, I mean, it sounds like after 2 back surgeries in 2 years, it sounds like a great decision. That's something I should definitely go do.
I mean, there's going to be a bunch of other mini games and things that we're doing, so we're really trying to make that into a fun environment for like content in general. And then we have all of our Magic stuff. I think we've already locked in like 6 different artists that are going to be there, and I know that we haven't announced all of them, but we've announced quite a few of them. And one of the other things I'm going to be doing is like I want as many freaking artists as I possibly can get there to do all of the cool shit for everyone. Because I know that is one thing that everyone really enjoys is like having custom things made or having art signed, with your cards or whatever, or having borders done. Like, I know that's a huge thing that people love. So I was just like, hey, John, who's my TO, we need as many artists as we can possibly get. He's like, well, how much space do you have? I said, yes, I will figure it out.
It is my birthday weekend that I will be with you. I'm coming out for that weekend. So I'm real excited about it.
Okay, so then we absolutely have to make fun of you even more, and make sure that we make a big deal about it. Got it.
Well, so kind of going back to the entry fee, because this is something that I've actually been because we've had this conversation, especially through COVID, like what should tournament and convention Magic look like once we're past, and before that we talked about it a lot. And I've been a pretty big proponent that entry fees make sense. I think from a security perspective, there's other reasons that they're beneficial, right? Like, yeah. Theft gets cut down. You have better security from a COVID safety perspective. You're able to keep track of things a little bit better. You have the idea of, as long as there's a benefit, like you get free entry to stuff, or you're able to do things. You're really securing a much more substantial event. I mean, before these were going with Grand Prix being just open events, one of the reasons that most of them were not panel-based big convention with support, like all of the content creators that you're supporting going. So making it a entry fee based event, plus they get access to all the other stuff you're doing, allows you to do cool stuff that like it comes kind of hand in hand. It's no longer just Wizards marketing budget is paying for fun. It's the event is just self-sustaining, which I think is in the long run and the short run going to be really beneficial for everyone participating.
Yeah, and as we had talked about this earlier, when you asked, like, is Wizards having a hand in this? They don't dictate what we do at the event, right? Like, they tell us, hey, we want these formats to be run in this way. And I'm like, okay, cool. Beyond that, it's all us. And they understand that because we need to run the event the way we know how to. So the part of that is we understand our ecosystem. And one of our big focuses when we were talking internally about this was making sure that the rest of the communities that we have that are coming, that are not Magic, understand what Magic is so we can infuse more people coming in and have that lower barrier of entry. Because one of the things that we identified right off the bat is Magic is daunting as crap. Like, in general, it is very daunting to come into a game and not know anything and then have to learn not only cards, but mechanics, how interactions work, timing on things, what different things do here and there, judgment calls. Like, it's insane to think about the sheer amount of data that you need to consume in a short amount of time in order to go from a new player to a competitive player in general. So that's where we identify that and like, how can we solve that? And so we're working towards that to solve that so that we can make it a fun, enjoyable experience for anyone who walks up and wants to play Magic. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how old you are. You're a 6-year-old. You want to come play Magic? Fantastic. We got a person for you. Let's sit you down and teach you.
I mean, Magic does have, it's like we've described this over the years many times. Whatever the analogy you want to use for Magic is, like, it is a little bit more of a slow, harder to get into, higher barrier to entry game compared to some others. Not every game, but I mean, it definitely has that element to it. And so it's exciting to hear that you guys are trying to do everything you can, not just for the game, but on site at a public facing event where you're going to have people in there who have, I mean, like at this point, if you're a nerd, like I'm a nerd, Alex, as I know, like, if you're a nerd, you've heard of it.
I know what you're talking about.
It's we're not at a point anymore. It's like I play this game called Magic the Gathering, and someone's like, "Oh, I've just never heard of that." It's like if you play any game at all, even the remotely nerdy, you have heard of Magic before. So if you've heard of it and you're at one of these things, and even if you've just heard about it once from a sibling or a friend, it is important to have the experience for somebody who's just like, "All right, I have a couple hours to kill. Like, I will try this," And I think that's great. I think it's exciting that to have that, the on-site presence, not just because Wizards has that at their stores, but you have to go to a store for that. This is like a party. You get to go to a convention, which is the best part.
The overall experience of the gaming lifestyle coming to life in every aspect.
You also have like a backlog of like cool things that Wizards has tried. I was like, oh, that was awesome. It'd be cool for that to come back. That like never really made sense because it was where was that going to be developed for? From the like escape rooms they did for Innistrad to like the panels they started doing towards the very end there, the Tappy Toe Claws, like question games, or, we did our trivia show one year. Like there's a lot of really cool stuff that's been done in the past that like would be great to bring back. And then creating it in a convention environment gives that a lot more potential than this is an open tournament that got big.
Yeah.
Accidentally.
And that type of stuff, I want to push boundaries. I want to do fun stuff. I want to do things that like make other people who are non-Magic players come in and go, hey, what's this? Mm-hmm. That is super interesting to me because that brings in new blood. That brings in fresh ideas. That brings in new ways to think about how to do whatever it is. And so the more that we can infuse those other audiences into this, the more successful this is going to be for everyone involved. Because that means we get to get bigger. That means we get to do nuttier stuff. That means I get to do really crazy things that I have in mind that I really want to do, but I can't do yet because I don't have the funds. But once I do, it's, let me just say, there's this idea that I have.
Magic Cornhole, man. That's it.
Well, no. I'm saying from a completely different perspective. This is like, let me walk you through the scenario. And this is not something I've talked about to anyone, but I'm going to tell you guys.
All right.
When you walk into a convention center or you walk into something, what happens for the first time? You look around, you see stuff, and you may wander a direction.
Yep.
Picture this. You walk in to the convention center and immediately are confronted with a planeswalker. The planeswalker walks up to you and says, hey, what color are you? What do you mean, what color am I? Well, what color are you? Do you love red? Like, what color are you? And they walk you through all the different colors and everything. Oh, you're red? Well, let's go talk to Chandra real quick. I know she has some stuff for you. And you start a quest line. And you go with
the,
that
like Ren Fair, like or Disney Magic Experience moment thing that you build off of.
I then take them on a literally magic journey through the convention where they're doing quests and ultimately they're building a deck. And at the end of that journey, they sit down and play in a tournament with that deck.
I think that would be pretty feasible. That doesn't sound...
It is.
I mean, you need like 3 people to like start people off on their quest or whatever, but...
It's a lot more complicated than you think because of the sheer amount of volume of people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
But you also have to get people who are interested. So this would be basically a sign-up experience for this. You'd sign up for the Magic experience, and then we'd walk you through. So this is one of my evolutions of... and this is what I told Wizards, and they're like, that sounds awesome. You should do that. And I was like, I'm going to try. Don't worry.
Well, so like, I'm trying to think like, cause like Disney does stuff like, cause they do the pin trading, right? That's like a whole thing you can do where you start, if you sign on to that experience, you then like every retail location in Disney offers the opportunity to do trading of pins, right? And it costs them nothing, right? They just have like their cashier will just like, here's a pin. Thank you. Here's your new one or whatever. You like, I mean, theoretically, it's feasible where just like every booth gets like a pack of the exact same card from that limited format. And you're just like, give this to red mages that show up.
Well, I mean, it's taking the Harry Potter idea of like the Sorting Hat, right?
Yeah.
And doing that for Magic. and then also in employing cosplayers to help me with this because I want them to be full-time in the character the entire time, and then taking that ecosystem and building it even further. But this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about that I'm going to start doing, right? This is where I'm going to change it from just a tournament to a festival because I love those elements. And I'm just like, this is the type of nutty stuff that I want to do. And I'm going to continue expanding and building and growing because I want people to experience all sides of Magic.
What's really fascinating to me about that, and what I really, really, really love about that is that you're not coming into this experience as somebody who is internal at Wizards of the Coast and wants to help grow the profile and is trying to take what we have and just do it, right? And again, no shade to any of those people because I love those people, but like you're coming from the experience of I've done this with other games. I identify the opportunity to do this with Magic, so let's do this with Magic. And I think that's the thing that's so exciting to me is I have said this for like what feels like a decade now, and I know Alex agrees. Like the player base is so large, it's never made any sense that we haven't been able to get the public facing side of Magic to the size of these other huge esports. Like it never made sense to me that it was such a struggle that it was confined to store level play or very restrictive tournaments that are kind of cookie cutter in the way that they were run. It's very exciting to me to hear new stuff like this, and I'm sure you know as well as I do. Like, not every idea is going to work, right? But it's the inventive approach of wanting to try new ideas that makes it such an exciting thing to be a part of.
Yeah, and I mean, it may not work the way I think it's going to work, and that's a very real possibility. But the difference is I try it out once, I see what works, I see what doesn't, I take it and I improve it, right? Because then it becomes better, then it becomes better, then it becomes better. It's a starting point, and that's what Dallas is for me. It's my starting point. So what I'm doing in Dallas is my foundation level to where we're going to take that and then continue building and growing because it's going to take time. And this is something we're very open with everyone. It's like, hey, we are not a Magic event. We've never been a Magic event. This is not something that you would know us for. So give us some grace as we expand and build this. And if you have constructive feedback, please tell us because we want to know. But be constructive with it and give us ideas on how we can improve and things we can do. I want the crazy ideas. Tell me a crazy idea you have and we'll try it. If I can do it, I'll try it. Why not? Because what's the harm in it?
Right.
All right, so we're gonna put Ben on the mechanical bull, and then everyone's going to grab magic packs, all cards that look like eggs, though, and then they're just gonna throw them at him until he falls off the bull.
Yep. I don't want to break him. No, I don't want to break you. That's not an option.
I'm not going to be there, so I'm not liable for any.
But I don't like. I want him to actually play and experience stuff. I don't want to break him like day one, right? Like that's not fair to anyone.
Fair, fine. It is his birthday. We'll be
maybe like Sunday. We'll break him Sunday, and then he can go home.
Mechanical bull. It's got to be a mechanical minotaur, though. It has to be, right?
Yeah,
No, I wish.
it's Angrath. Oh, this is my new my new hope is so there's a character Angrath who's in Magic. He's the big Minotaur. He's a red-black planeswalker. And he originally was put on Ixalan. He was like this criminal who ran a pirate crew, etc. And his whole deal is that he got trapped there and he just wants to get back home, after doing all of his crimes and beating up people with tire parts and running vehicles, but he just wants to get home because he loves family and it's all about family. And I just want Vin Diesel to play Angrath in whatever future Magic the Gathering movie exists, because Angrath is the Dominic Toretto of the Magic the Gathering universe. And I just want a vehicle planeswalker. I want him to be able to crew vehicles. I'm excited by the future of our Fast and Furious Magic the Gathering franchise.
Okay, all right. That's a little bit far, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Too much.
He's got no Fast and Furious gear behind him. Look at this. Come on, you got Star Wars, and you got Trigun and Marvel. Yeah, there's no Dominic Toretto.
No.
You're just anti-Fast Furious.
I like the first movie, and that was about it. When it got to number 12, I was just like, why?
It gets. I mean, five is the best movie. The 5 or 3 are my two favorites. But I will say that the idea that they're exploring a Jurassic Park Fast and the Furious crossover franchise is one of the greatest ideas that's ever been. I mean, so dumb, but Dominic Toretto in cars fighting dinosaurs is just like
It's freaking Sharknado all over again. Like, that's what this is. It's just for Sharknado, but reskinned as dinosaurs. Got it.
that's such a ridiculous idea.
Yeah. With way more money, with just like so much more money.
Okay. So I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
Right. I saw this card recently, and I, as a non like crazy competitive theory crafting person, saw this and go, holy crap, that's broken. But I want to get your takes on it. The Wandering Emperor.
Yeah.
Card's great.
She like, to me, that's just insane.
That was one of our good calls. So like, for a 4-mana planeswalker to be able to see play in Modern takes a very large, like the ones that have seen play, like even 3-mana or 5, like anything in that range, have broken Standard, right? Like Teferi or 3 or whatever came out of War of the Spark. And she's actually one of the few cards that like is decent in Standard, but is seeing Modern play just because she's instant speed. You're able to hold up counter spell. And then she's like a good removal spell. She's a good threat. She kind of does a little bit of everything you need at the right speed, which is, with Flash.
On the Papas of Pioneer episode, while talking to Mason, we broke down the blue-white Pioneer deck. And the conversation there was basically surrounding the idea that because you can't play Mind Sculptor in Pioneer, that deck functions very similarly. You're just playing Emperors instead. And that's the card that fits that slot. But I mean, Pioneer is a pretty powerful format. So like for that to be already a staple in what is maybe the best deck in Pioneer, which is probably the best deck or close to the best deck, is pretty impressive. I think the stats in the card are very good and the functionality is unique. I think those are the two things we pointed out in the set review that really do push that. It's a very good card. So
here's my part 2 of that question. How much do you think we're going to see this at the regional qualifiers?
Ooh,
like how much play do you think we're going to see?
If it's Pioneer, we're going to see a ton. I'm telling you that like the split, the 2-3 split on like the 4 and 5 mana slot that happens in a blue-white control deck, like they play this card as a 2-of in that deck, and that is going to be one of the most represented decks. I think unless the format takes a really, really drastic left turn, I think you're probably going to see that deck represented as at least 15-20% of the field. I think it's one of the best decks.
Right now, Azorius Control is like 10% of the metagame in Pioneer, right? So like at a minimum, that's your like average base level, and there's a chance, it open events are interesting because they offer the largest opportunity for weird stuff to do well, right? You don't have the metagame of like a Pro Tour where basically at a Pro Tour event or higher, every player who's playing in it has the best deck they possibly could have because they are able to borrow cards from friends. They have the sponsorship needed. There's like, if you've made it to a Pro Tour, you have the resources to get every single card you could ever need to play in that event, to have the perfect deck to play in it, to be the best possible. That's not true at open events. Open events are, I want to play in this event. What cards can I get? Between me and my buddy who share a collection, us playing 2 different decks so that we're not overlapping in our play sets, what can we put together? So that always kind of modifies when it's an open event versus an invitational event. But Azorius Control, there's just a classic large amount of people that like jam blue-white control in every format.
Well, the other thing too, I think about Wandering Emperor that stands out to me, and the reason you'll see a lot of this card is that whether you're talking about a control deck or you're talking about a deck that is creature based, like if anybody comes up with any unique idea for a creature based deck, they can play this deck as long as they're white as a 2-of, because it functions as a trump card, a removal spell, a combat trick, and an engine to create more creatures. I mean, like there's just not that many. And the fact that it's an instant speed, right? Like that's the thing, is because it's instant speed, it does so much for any creature-based deck that wants to play it. It is kind of never going to really be a bad draw, almost ever.
Yeah, I saw that, and my first comment was, this is so incredibly broken. I anticipate I'm going to see this for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're for sure going to see it forever, until they print a better one. But the like, in the Pioneer preliminary that happened this week, Azorius Control was the only deck that 4-0'd, right? All the other decks were 3-1s. In the Pioneer League for the week before, Azorius Control was one of the 6 decks that 5-0'd. So like,
wow,
it's a pretty easy deck to like pay attention to. What it's doing is not like it's not a birthing pod style deck. It's not a deck like where the complication of learning how to play it and all of the different lines you can go is so high that you're unbenefited without years of experience, because it's a control deck. I mean, you need to know what the threats are and what you're doing, but it's not like you're like tutoring for 18 cards a game and you have to make sure you're tutoring for the right one in the right sequence at the right time. So I do think it has a lot of potential to do well. I think you'll see a lot of mono red aggro, just because like the issue with Pioneer is that it was a kind of unsupported format until this announcement was made, right? We like had a moment where it was really popular at its announcement, but then that went through its like rolling ban history, where just the way that they created the format created a really weird ban environment that existed already in a moment in Magic where bans were really heavy, and so there was fatigue around it. Then when that ended, it got locked into a specific combo that then the pandemic happened right after it got banned finally after a year. And so people have to pick this format up. And so it's going to be interesting which cards translate from standard, which the Wandering one is a great one, right? Like if you're a standard player, you have that card already, or decks that are modern decks that you can easily transfer, upward or downward, depending on what you think Pioneer is on a mountain.
I mean, if you also go back and you think about the way players who are trying to win tournaments function, if you look at something like Modern right now, and it's like, okay, can you play this blue-red tempo deck with, Murktide Region, or are you going to play this Rhinos deck taking advantage of Cascade or something? That's a harder learning curve to be able to know the sequencing in decks like that. Whereas if you've played blue-white control, I mean, people have played blue-white control since 1994. Like, if they take 10 years off Magic and they're like, I want to play in this event, oh, blue-white control is a good deck, I'll buy this blue-white control deck, and I pretty much will know exactly what I'm doing before I even really draw my first card, because blue-white control's played the same way forever. It's the same deck. It's always been the same deck.
And like looking at the blue-white control list, if you've had a blue-white control list in Modern over the last whatever amount of years, you have most of these cards. The ones you don't have are like random standard uncommons or standard rares, and you maybe have to drop $100 to buy into it. And that's kind of what I think from an open event perspective, you're going to see a lot of. You're going to see a lot of people that buy into a deck that is similar to a deck they've played in other formats. I think Is It Phoenix is going to be a massively overrepresented deck in the format, because there's so many people, modern players, standard players, and in between, that before the pandemic just owned Is It Phoenix decks. That was one of the most popular decks in multiple formats for the year before the pandemic happened, and then cards got banned. So they're just like sitting in people's boxes and piles, and they're like, oh, I can put, no one sold their Phoenixes because it went from $50 to $4. So now it's a deck that's one of the best decks in the format. It's really fun to play. You know how to play it. Like, you've learned how to do it. And it's mostly commons and uncommons that are different from what you were playing in Modern or what you were playing in Standard.
I'm going to look up this deck because I don't actually know that one. I know the card, but I don't know the actual deck.
Oh, Blue Red Phoenix? Yeah. The version in Pioneer is a little different.
Yeah, like this would be my pick for the most common deck you'll see at the event. Not from a power level perspective. Like, at the top tables, not making predictions, but from a like, just happens that this many people own the cards enough to play this deck, and the type of deck it is super popular, is likely to be high.
I think it's going to be super interesting to see the decks that come out of these tournaments, because what I'm looking forward to is that metagame that's going to happen, because different stores are going to be running different formats. And so some of the player base is going to have a different perspective when they come in. And I'm looking forward to that, because I think that we're going to see some new surprising things, even some off the wall things. We're going to still have those standards, right? But I really want to see those metagames come out, and just the theory crafting possibilities that could be here of like the tweaks that win.
Oh yeah, and it's always fascinating with these events, right? Like, I've gone into Grand Prix where I'm like, oh man, I've practiced my deck for the meta game. I got the sideboard strategy for every one of the top decks in the format. I'm going to do so well. I have the secret tech against this deck and that deck, and I play against 0 of those decks. And I play against like random guys, Goblins deck, eight Blood Artist decks with Collected Company, like just like random stuff. And I'm like, oh, I just lost 4 rounds in a row because I don't
at all.
None of these are all like cool stuff that people have come up with over the last year that I'm seeing for the very first time. That's like their secret tech. I mean, the fact that there's a Mardu Greasefang deck in Pioneer is so dope, that you're like reanimating Parhelion and Sky Sovereign with like Greasefang and just like hitting people that way is dope. Like, this format's going to be really cool, and I'm excited to see what comes out of like the first big paper tournament for it. since 2019, basically.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a great return to form for a format that didn't really get its place in the sun when it was supposed to. And 3 years later, like there's way more cards in Pioneer. Pioneer feels this is why, and this we can bring it full circle and wrap the podcast up on this note because I think this is kind of the point, right? Like we started playing Modern in 2011. Alex and I started this podcast in 2014. He started, I joined 7 episodes later. But we started talking about Modern in 2014. It is 8 years later, and Pioneer today is a pretty similar format to what Modern was in 2011. It's kind of the same thing. It feels very similar in terms of card availability, power level. Modern has become something totally wild. It's like Legacy now. But Pioneer is restrictive enough. You can still do powerful stuff that's not totally busted. And so it's exciting. It's kind of very similar to how it was when we got so excited about starting to talk about Modern, almost a decade ago.
And I mean, that's exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for those change up, and I love this, man. But this is why I'm here talking to you guys, because this type of stuff is just fun.
I'm truly excited. I'm excited for it to happen, right? I don't get to go, which I am sad about, but I'm happy I have a kid. That part's really cool. It's sweet, by the way. Like, if you've never thought about having a kid, it's way better than people tell you. They're very cute.
Good time.
Just these tournaments coming back, like I loved going to the Magic the Gathering event that happened in Las Vegas that CFB put on. That was such a cool return to form, and there being tournament Magic that matters coming back. There being an entire event series. There's a reason to go back to LGSs. There's convention experiences being created around this game that's always deserved it. Like it's been, you talked about League of Legends and you talked about kind of the early days and how that pro scene was created. That was always really fascinating to me because Magic had a much better income framework than pretty much any game ever, right? Like the content creation industry around Magic, even when it was centered around pro players, was always so many light years ahead of these other esport events because you could do that. You could be a Star City Games and make your living totally separate from Wizards of the Coast off of single sales to run an entire tournament series with your own pro circuit because that existed. Where like if you're a League of Legends content creation, you're making it off of views, right? That is the source of your income. If you're a League of Legends anything within that framework to make money on it, it's either the marketing budget from League of Legends or viewership views from YouTube, Twitch, etc. And that's changed a little bit, but even the sponsorship part of that is still based on the viewership from those events. So it's Magic has always had this ability to kind of fund these really cool things, but it's always still been around this like tournaments are the only thing these events are about. Everything else is adjacent and secondary. And the fact that there's from the ground up being created these moments that become cultural events and more of the lifestyle brand that is Magic. Like when people are Magic players, this is from a guy who has his own game that he's kickstarted and launched. Getting Magic players to play it and buy it is hard because they're not gamers. They're not, they are Magic players. That is their life. All of their friends are Magic players. Their girlfriend's a Magic player. Their mom's now a Magic player. And creating a lifestyle experience is something that I think will be really magical for them versus a specifically grinding only tournament event while having that option, because I think that's important as well.
I see what you did there. Magical event. Let's see. Nice fun. Nice fun.
I think people get wrapped up in a little bit of a misnomer sometimes when it comes to arts and entertainment, that there's just, there's a budget somewhere for arts or entertainment to just exist. And there is a budget. I can write a song or paint a painting in my home myself, and that budget exists. It's me paying for it with my time and my money. But if I want to be a professional musician or a painter, there has to be someone who's paying for it. Otherwise, it's not professional, right? It's a hobbyist. It's the exact same thing with if you create content or make a game. It's a fun thing that you get to do unless you have a marketing budget or you have content that is being driven by it. I mean, you even look at golf, which is the slowest game on earth. Golf works because they televise it, and there's an entire industry surrounding the equipment and the lifestyle and everything surrounding the events. That's how golf works. Yep. But if that didn't exist, people would not be able to just hit a ball with a stick and do it and have that be their life or their profession. So it's the same thing with anything. With Magic, we've been wrapped up in the idea for a long time that if you're good at Magic, you should be able to be good at Magic professionally. Well, being good at Magic only works if there is a budget to allow you to be professionally good at Magic. It has to come from somewhere. And I think it's important that people recognize that. So it's exciting that, you guys have that infrastructure you're bringing in to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it gets back to that core of like community first, right? That's been our focus, and that's going to be our focus. And helping the community understand and participate in what we're building is very important to us.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I think that pretty much wraps us up. Thank you for your time.
I can't come up with anything better than that magic joke. So that's really, I've tapped out.
That'll be that for us.
I've saved that for 3 weeks.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys in Dallas. I can't wait to ride the bull. And it's gonna be good.
Yeah, make sure, and Ben's going to be there. Also, we're doing, I'll be doing the pre-release on Arena for New Capenna tonight on Tuesday night. So that's a thing that's happening. We have early release. Tappy Toe Claws will be there as well on stream, on our normal stream. Plus, obviously, the normal Monday night Commander streams that we do every week that Ben has been graciously hosting, as I've been unable to commit to too many things a week. And Aaron, where can people find you if they have any questions or want to throw at you wacky ideas for stuff that could happen at these events, or et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, one of my primary platforms is Twitter. So Torbin _. I'm the only active Torbin on Twitter. It's not hard to find, TORBIN. Or I'm on Twitch. You can also email me at a.linde@esldgaming.com. Otherwise, we also have a Discord. So if you want to jump into the Discord, you go to our Magic website. You can jump into the Discord. I'm active there as well. I'm not going to give you my Discord, but you can find me there.
So have you seen the card Torbrand, Thane of the Redfell?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. Sore subject.
So I get compared to a lot of people, or a lot of other things. Like Torbjorn is something that I'm compared to all of the time from Overwatch, and just like I was like, guys, I've been Torbin for like 9 years before any of this stuff came out, so I win just in general.
See, so there's a card that's called Kess, and like I've taken the opposite solution where I've just made it my brand. It just is on everything. I have the art over there. Just you gotta I think it's a lesson I learned in high school and then took it to college, where like if someone comes up with a nickname you hate, you just accept it, and then you're gonna hate, like I was called Spilly in college, and it was always the intent behind it wasn't nice, but I was like, no, I'm claiming that. That's my nickname, and we're going by it. I'm going to spill things. I'm going to knock stuff over, and it's going to be really funny because I've claimed this instead of me being like annoyed by it.
That's fair.
Part of the gig.
So yeah, I'm just saying you got to build a Torbran commander deck. That's really what.
Obviously. Now I'm going to have to go back to my friend and be like, hey, we have to build this. And he's like, yeah, I know we do.
In your defense, he's busted. He's like really good.
He's a good card. It's just like getting compared to other things. It's like,
that's fair. I understand. Yeah, I sympathize. All right. So last wrap ups. Thank you. Make sure if you want to buy cards, buy them on at channelfireball.com. Make sure to check out Ultra Pro for all of your product, sleeves, etc. needs. Also, altersleeves.com. We have a special deal with them as well. We're actually going to be coming with a Patreon exclusive altar sleeve from them at some point in the next month. Keep an eye out for that. We have a spicy one that we're looking to do, and excited to see you at the DreamHack event, and excited to have this stuff come back. And all the links for all of the stuff we've mentioned today are, especially all the DreamHack content and where to find it and how to get tickets and all of that stuff, is linked in the description of this podcast episode. So definitely check that out as well.
Oh yeah, sorry. And one more thing, I just remembered, because this is going to drop on Monday. As many of you know, I had to cancel the tour that I had scheduled at the end of the year last year because of the injury that I suffered. The whole thing has been rescheduled, and the dates are now live, and those tickets are on sale by the time you hear this. So just go to my Twitter. It'll be top link, because the old link is 2021 tour, and I have to try to change it. But by the time you hear this, the tickets will be live. Go to my Twitter, Ben Bateman Media. You'll find the link. I would love to see you this summer, and I'm looking forward to it.
He's good. He's A+ content. Highly recommend.
Thank you. Verified by Alex.
Hopefully he'll also be out of TikTok jail by the time we get to Monday.
God, I hope so.
All right. TikTok. Thanks everyone. Thank you so much, Aaron. And thank you for, bringing everything back. And thank you to our patrons. And we will talk to you all next week.
Bye guys.
Bye.
This has been a production of Time Traveler Media, sending podcasts into the future.